I only have that nice little 5 seconds, so it's easier for me to edit it out when I do the audio version of this. What is up, guys? Chase Oliver 68 here, back again with another NFL NFL recap. Can I speak? I'm going to keep that in the Spotify too. But yes, if you guys don't know, you can catch these episodes also on Spotify. Chilling with Chase is the Spotify feed. I would appreciate if you guys just hit the play button, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Follow Chilling with Chase. That's where you'll see a lot more MMA and pro wrestling takes on there as well in podcast format. I am back from my work vacation. Last week, I went to Anaheim for RE Plus. It's a solar convention. And if you guys don't know, I work in the solar industry. So I was gone for the whole week and I was tired and I forgot to bring my laptop to do extra work. But don't worry, there's going to be a lot of content here on the Chase Oliver 68 channel and the Chilling with Chase Spotify feed. So please be sure to subscribe and follow on both those formats. If you're coming here just for a quick hi, thank you so much. And leave a thumbs up on this video. What is up, John? One day, John, you're going to be on one of these streams along with my co-host, Anthony of FEN, Fairview Entertainment Network. Anthony, how are you doing, my friend? I feel like you're doing better than me this week after your Vikings comeback win over the Lions.
Well, Chase, mentally midway through the fourth quarter, I didn't want to tell Kudo, but I was thinking to myself, I was preparing for the Vikings to be 1-2. 59 minutes of the game, they were not up once, and then they took the right minute to be up. They took the last minute to be up and win. So that was I definitely jumped out of my seat when I saw that touchdown to finish the game.
Chief says here in the comments, go birds fly, eagle fly. And Chief, you just set it up. You're just like that nice catcher that sets up the fastball. I like it because, Anthony, our first topic today is 3-0 teams. Are these teams legit? Are the Miami Dolphins and the Philadelphia Eagles, led by the two former Alabama Crimson Tide quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa, are these two 3-0 teams legit? We're going to first start off with the Miami Dolphins. Anthony, do you believe the Miami Dolphins to be a legit team? Because it doesn't matter. You know, we saw last year with the Cardinals, they started off 10-0 and they kind of faltered off. They got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. But when you look at the Miami Dolphins, do you feel like they're legit or is just a little bit of fool's gold?
You know, Chase, first, I know you love it that two Alabama quarterbacks are leading the last two undefeated teams.
I do.
But beyond that, I got to say, you know, the Mike McDaniel hiring, I was a little, you know, it definitely wasn't in my favorites of the hiring. It wasn't the worst hiring I thought this offseason. That's the team that's 0-3. But I want to say this is a legit team. You know, it's not like they are having fluke wins. It's not, we saw the Steelers a few years ago go 11-0 to start the season, and most of those wins were kind of like not that great. And come playoff time, it kind of showed, they weren't that great. I feel like with the team they have, Tua's finally having a really good year. This might not be the year we see them do really well. Come playoff time, at least. Like this to me, I mean, I think we're already talking about playoffs. It looked like a year ago, I think everybody just kind of expected the Bills to run the division like Tom Brady did for so long. Now it's kind of like, well, Tua's there too. Like, I feel like this is the type of team that this year they will make the playoffs, maybe win a game, but, not much beyond that. I think we're talking about this 2023 team. I think a lot of people will be going into next season as a Super Bowl contender. So this year, I'm thinking if I'm a Dolphins fan, I'd love to see a lot better than this, but I think probably get to the divisional round, maybe win a wild card game, maybe when beating the Bills, you're the best team besides yourself in the division. That's definitely a good way to start. I feel like the Bills are still gonna get the division win though. So all said and done, I think this is a team that's going to be really good for a long time, but probably a divisional round loss is where we're going to see this team end this year.
Yeah, John said he dreaded that Steelers 11-0 start of the season. And Kukix, my good friend Kukix, go check out his YouTube channel if you guys live in the SoCal area. Hell, he even travels to NorCal. He travels to Arizona sometimes. Going around the Nike outlets, sneaker shops. Hey, look, if you guys want to find heat in California, this guy gets the heat for you guys. So, yeah, and he says Dolphins ain't going to have a QB in a bit after Tua's concussion. That's definitely another topic of Tua Tagovailoa's concussion protocol. But I'm with you, Anthony. I think that the Dolphins are definitely like a year away from being like actual contenders. I think this year is still trying to figure it out. And the biggest test for the Dolphins will be once teams figure out how to stop Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, because that's going to happen. The thing with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, yes, they're really fast wide receivers. They're explosive talents, but we've seen it before, especially with Tyreek Hill, is that once teams figure out how to cover this, that's when the issues start to form. We saw it with the Kansas City Chiefs, and the difference between the Chiefs and the Dolphins is this: the Chiefs have an all-pro tight end named Travis Kelce. I don't know who the Dolphins really have. Like, Mike Gesicki is a nice tight end, but he's definitely not all-pro tight end Travis Kelce. So that's something that we're going to have to see. Like, hey, how does Mike McDaniels go over the fact? How does he get Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill open still after the fact that these teams figure out how to cover them? You know, because both of them are explosive wide receivers, but we ain't going to be seeing that all the time. Now, Anthony, when it comes to the Eagles, you know, we got some Eagles fans in the chat here. What do you think about the Eagles? 3-0. Are they legit? I mean, you know how my answer. The first episode we did of this show, I said the Eagles are a problem. This team looks like the favorite in the NFC in my eyes. I even said, hey, you know what it's like playing in Philadelphia. They beat you to go to the Super Bowl and win it. And then I get it. Kirk Cousins not good on Monday night, but it was in Philadelphia. I'm just saying, Anthony, are you an Eagles believer, or are you still salty from last week's loss?
I think it's hard not to believe in the Eagles, especially when you look around the end. Like, we'll just talk about the NFC for a second, because like the West, I thought will be a lot better than what it is. So I mean, you eliminate that division. The South and North have like one or two teams that are, you know, okay. Like, I guess better than okay, but I mean, I guess what I'm saying here is like, yeah, who else really competes against the Eagles right now in the NFC? I think the Eagles are Jalen Hurts. I was not too sold on him, but he is doing a really good job. Same with the head coach, Nick Sirianni. You know, I wasn't really a big fan. He was probably my least favorite head coach signing that offseason. And I mean, he's went to the playoffs last year. You know, unless something crazy happens, I don't think the Eagles will ever not be in first in their division this season. So, you know, this is a good Eagles team. This could be the Super Bowl contender here, which I didn't really expect that. I thought they'd kind of be pretty much what I said about the Dolphins a minute ago, where, you know, they probably make the playoffs, win a game. If they're lucky, make the NFC Championship. Now I think we're not talking about that. We're talking more, can they get to the Super Bowl? And I think there's a very good chance they can, especially last time they had home field advantage. They did it, unfortunately. So we'll see if they can do it again. If they do so, if they can get home field advantage.
Yeah. See, my thing with Jalen Hurts is this. He's still in that phase where defensive coordinators are trying to figure out how to stop him. Now you added A.J. Brown this year, a guy who's a dynamic playmaker at the wide receiver position. Devontae Smith is coming into his own. You have other wide receiver talents. They're actually using the running backs and Miles Sanders, unlike last year. Miles Sanders was kind of like they were relying on Jalen Hurts to run the football last year. And it was because the wide receivers last year really weren't like threats for a lot of teams. Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor, those guys weren't threats for any other teams. Now you have Devonta Smith. Now you have A.J. Brown. You have Jalen Hurts with a little bit more confidence. And I just think that defense for the Eagles, it's just full of great veterans like Fletcher Cox. And you got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who they traded for. You got Darius Slay, who's been an underrated corner for like the last 3 years. No one really talks about him. And then I believe Brandon Graham is still on the roster. It's like this team is just filled with great pieces on defense. And honestly, if Jalen Hurts can just have those good games in the playoffs, it will make a difference. And he's not a small quarterback. Try tackling this guy, 230 pounds of muscle, and Jalen Hurts in the winter, in January. It's just not possible. But you kind of talked about we're on the Eagles right now, Anthony, as the NFC favorites. And I see some people talking about the Niners in the chat. I'll definitely highlight your guys' questions. And by the way, if you guys are listening to this on Spotify, come to the YouTube channel. You can interact. I'll read your questions in the chat as well. And if you want your answers read right away, super chats are the best way to do that. But these NFC teams right here, Are there any of them, Anthony, that you believe over the Eagles? Or is there a team you like? Is there a sleeper team? I mean, I know you're a Vikings fan, so you're probably going to say down, but is there anyone else besides the Vikings that you like from the NFC? Because, we were coming into this season thinking the NFC will be the strongest. I don't know. The NFC kind of weak right now.
I look at the NFC. I know they just lost this week, but the Buccaneers were down their top 3 wide receivers. They've been down linemen this year. Assuming that's not the route they stay this season, I think it's hard not to throw them out as a contender. I don't think you have anybody else in that division. You don't have anybody else in the East. The West, I don't think it's the Niners. Looking how they played against the Broncos this past weekend, I don't think it's the Niners.
They lost, like Kukix mentioned, offensive lineman issues in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
John Gore said there was a reason why they wanted to trade Jimmy G because, there's no difference between Jimmy G and Trey Lance when it came to the offensive production. I mean, Jimmy G kind of didn't bring that production.
Yeah, exactly. So you eliminate them. I don't think the Cardinals are it. So you look, Seahawks, definitely not. Rams, like it's mostly because of Vic McVay. You want to even say the Rams. They haven't looked as good as they did last year. Maybe winning the Super Bowl was enough for them because it seems they've cooled off a little bit. North, like I mean the Packers. I mean we're looking. I wouldn't be surprised at this point if they make the playoffs and lose in the wild card. Like they. I think Rodgers isn't going to adjust to these receivers this season. It's going to take another off season, and he'll be a year older. So, Vikings. I honestly hate. I think it's like a family member because like I'll be hard on them. I don't want to say that they're a Super Bowl contender, but if I hear somebody else say they're not a Super Bowl contender, I'm like, well, what the heck? They obviously
they're honestly on paper they're probably the second best team in the NFC. I have it Eagles 1, Vikings 2, Rams 3 because I just think they still have the core. Tampa Bay, I have not liked anything I've seen from Tampa Bay. Brady just looks, he's not even doing the checkdowns that Brady used to do. He's not even doing that. He's like forcing these deep balls. They have depth, which is like something that they have advantage over other teams, but I'm just not liking what I'm seeing from them. Something about them is just like the defense, which was like a strong super Tampa being super fast. They're not playing like a Todd Bowles defense. They're not blitzing a lot like they used to. I don't know if Todd Bowles just learned his methods that like you can't blitz on every play. This isn't Madden. But but yeah, I'm not liking what I'm seeing from Tampa. So I feel like the Vikings, it's not wrong to think they're one of the top 3 teams, at least in the NFC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's I like to hear that. I like to hear that.
Well, you know what I don't like to hear, Anthony? My quarterback being injured, and Justin Herbert with the rib injury. He suffered it on Thursday Night Football. We weren't sure if we were going to see Herbert play. In fact, Anthony, I was at the game. I went to Chargers Jaguars. I went because the tickets were so cheap. I said, you know what? Let me go watch the Chargers and the Jaguars. And on the video board, it said Chase Daniels was starting. I was ready for the shellacking. I've been high on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm one of the few individuals that you will see that will be on record that said the Jaguars are a dark horse team. I've been on that record. I've been on that. But man, Justin Herbert, the rib injury, him playing. What are your thoughts? I want an outside Chargers fan's thoughts because I'm a Chargers fan, so you know what I think, what I'm going to be saying. But I want to know your thoughts. What are your thoughts? Who do you blame? Do you blame Herbert? Do you blame the coaching staff? Is it a mixture of both? Did you think it was courageous? Because we watch professional wrestling. There was a wrestler named Cody Rhodes. He wrestled a Hell in a Cell match with a torn pec, and that was a big debate of him wrestling that match. But Justin Herbert, week 3 of the NFL season against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a winnable game. Did you feel like he needed to play? Did you feel this was the right decision? Who do you blame? I need to hear your thoughts, man.
I mean, I think on paper it makes complete sense why you would play him. The Jaguars aren't as bad as they were the last few years, but by having Herbert on paper, it feels like that should be what puts you over and gets you the win. I look at it too. I'm sure I think Herbert's probably the main reason Herbert played. We're at that age, we're invincible, we can do it, and it didn't work out for him, unfortunately. And of course, for your Chargers, it didn't work out either. I think the biggest worry here, fortunately, it looks like, the Broncos, the 0-3 Raiders, it looks like they probably won't be as much competition as what the Chiefs will be for this division. And the Chiefs also took a surprising loss to the AFC South this week. So, not the end of the world, but, hopefully this isn't an injury that takes weeks for him to recover. Otherwise, the Chargers...
It is.
And then the Chargers probably are going to be looking at a wild card spot and not winning the division this year because of it.
Chargers also lost left tackle Rashawn Slater for the season, and Joey Bosa is also going to be out for a few weeks. I'll say this: Justin Herbert playing. He, like you said, his age, he knows he's invincible. He's going to be playing with this injury for the next few weeks. This game, the reason why he played was to give energy and give life to the team. This team was flat the whole game. They did not look like they were excited that Herbert was playing. The way that the team was playing, the way that it was executed, it felt like they weren't practicing. It was like they haven't practiced all week. There was no game plan. And really, to be honest, I blame Brandon Staley for why Justin Herbert was playing out there. And honestly, I've been one of the biggest Staley defenders. It's almost tiring trying to defend this guy. I really like Brandon Staley. I think he's a great motivational guy, has a great story. He beat cancer. He had all these people doubting him, and he's worked his way up through like being an NFL assistant to, now all of a sudden he's a head coach, and he only had to move down the street so that way he could stay with his family in LA. His family didn't have to make a big change. He was a huge head coach hiring. Like everyone was saying, Staley was like one of the hot names coming out when he was becoming a free agent head coach. A lot of people were excited for Brandon Staley, and I'm excited for him. I like this guy, but it just showed when Justin Herbert went out there and he said he wanted to play. Justin Herbert pretty much said, I don't trust this coaching staff. I don't trust this coaching staff with Chase Daniels to win this football game. This team needs me more than it needs the coaches. And that's how I felt when Justin Herbert went out there, because Brandon Staley has sat down players against the Houston Texans when the Chargers needed Derwin James out there the most. He sat Derwin James and said he would only play in a critical situation. This was when the playoffs were on the line, Anthony. We win against the Texans. The Chargers are in the playoffs. We're in the playoffs this year. If we went to the Texans, screw that Sunday night game with the Raiders. It wouldn't even have happened. We would have been fine. We probably could have rested our starters. But no, we lost. And this game right here, playing Justin Herbert, it just made no sense to me. It just shows that the coach is not a leader. That's what it shows to me. I know a lot of people disagree with me saying, Chase, you're being too hard on Staley. No, I've been defending Staley. I've been defending this guy. I'm trying to say this. The star quarterback does not believe in him. He showed that by playing there with the rib injury. So Brandon Staley, it's TikTok, baby. I think it might be done for you soon, because honestly, the Chargers, they should not be disappointing. And speaking of disappointments, Anthony, the AFC West, what an overrated division. Oh my God. It was the AFC West versus the world. They could have 4 teams in the playoffs. The AFC West have a total of 5 wins. 5 wins between them. 5 wins. 2 of them from the Kansas City Chiefs, 2 of them from the Broncos, 1 from the Chargers. And I'm just going to be honest with you. None of those 5 wins are impressive. I mean, Anthony, the NFC North has more wins than the AFC West. The Chicago Bears have more wins than these teams in the AFC West. And you got to look at the level of competition that the AFC West has been playing. I'm sorry. I think they're so massively overrated. And you look at the Broncos, chemistry issues. I don't know if it's between Russell Wilson and head coach. They're just not clicking. What are your thoughts on the Denver Broncos right now?
Denver, they've always been team number 2 to me. And I was not, just like with the Raiders, I was not a big fan of either of their hirings. Nathaniel Hackett, he went to a Packers team where, he wasn't the guy. The head coach is an offensive mind, so it wasn't really his offense. He struggled with the Jaguars before that. So to me, it was like, why are you bringing this guy in? To me, it's like Adam Gase was with Denver way back when he went out to Miami. It's like, he's not really responsible for that offense. It's pretty obvious it's been Peyton Manning. And that's how I feel here with Nathaniel Hackett. I think it's really been showing. I'm disappointed that Russell Wilson is not the Russell Wilson of old. I thought like if I had to put money out for who I think is going to be the next guy who could play till 45 like Tom Brady, Russell Wilson would have been my bet. But the way he's playing this year, I think he's going to be lucky to get to 40. It's pretty disappointing to see that. And that was the biggest move the Broncos made this offseason. So the fact Russell Wilson's been disappointing, they are 2-1. There's plenty of time for the season to improve. It's not like we're talking about they're with 0 or 1 wins and they're pretty much out of it. Like they are with a winning record. It's just it's a tough winning record. And they beat the Niners. They beat the Niners. That's a pretty solid team to beat, but they're not as good as we thought they were.
John says Denver and the Raiders are hilarious to watch on a weekly basis. Yes, Everything Pro Wrestling. Eli Manning said that the punter should have gotten the money. It was a punt off in Denver. The punters were the highlights of that one. Oh my God, Pat McAfee, eat your heart out. After the AFC West or the NFC West, which one is worse? Oh, AFC West, because of all the expectations. You expected these teams to go out there. Russell Wilson is looking old or going downside. Just hasn't been the same since last year. And I'm with you. He there's plays where it's like, that's the old Russell Wilson. And then there's plays where it's like, yo, what are you doing, Russell? Like, are you cooking or are you just putting stuff in the microwave? But the Raiders, I feel the Raiders have been the biggest disappointment. Like the Chargers, this is on brand for them. Oh, there's hype. Everyone loves them. And injuries happen. And then this happens. And there's issues with the coaches. You don't know what the quarterback. And this is the most on brand Charger thing. And we'll talk about them and the Chiefs too. But the Raiders, I really felt the Raiders, along with my beloved Jacksonville Jaguars, I thought they were going to be a dark horse team. I was like, hey, man, maybe Josh McDaniels finally figured it out. Derek Carr is not that bad. You traded for his college buddy, Devontae Adams. Oh, man, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, the running backs. Oh, man, this team is good. They stink. I hate to say it. They stink. They absolutely stink. The Oakland Raiders stink. The game against the Chargers must have been like a fluke or something. The way they blow that lead to the Cardinals, when the Cardinals, I also think, stink. And then this game against the Titans just woke up and said, hey, we're back. We're ready to be 1-2. The Raiders just don't look good, man. I'm sorry. Like something about that team, they just look like a disaster. Remember the Eagles' dream team and stuff like that with Michael Vick and Nnamdi Asomugha, I can't remember. Asomugha, he was a cornerback. I can't remember his name. Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie, Vince Young was back there too. They had a young Shady McCoy, Deshaun Jackson. I mean, this is what this Raiders team feels like. It just feels like they're just going to stink. Anthony, what are your thoughts on these Oakland Raiders? I'm sorry, Las Vegas Raiders.
There you go. You caught yourself. I didn't, when the Colts almost got McDaniels a few years ago, one of my friends who's a Colts fan was pretty excited about it. I'm like, I don't know. Fortunately for them, it didn't work out. And then did work out for the Raiders this year. I'm like, I don't know. What did he do in Denver that made you want to sign him? That's the way I've looked at it. And, he was with Tom Brady for so long. Tom Brady leaving and winning a Super Bowl right away in Tampa should have kind of soured people's opinion on the whole Patriots organization. But for some reason, it didn't sour the Raiders. And even though they got Devontae Adams, one of the best receivers, even today, what's happened. And I don't think Derek Carr is that bad of a quarterback. I think you can win games with Derek Carr, and they're not. They are not winning games with Derek Carr. I think half of it's been the coaching. He's had a lot of poor coaches since he's been with the Raiders. And Josh McDaniels is just another one. It'll probably be a pretty quick stint for Josh McDaniels. We'll see if he lasts longer than he did in Denver. I'm starting to think he won't because 0-3, the last team without a win in the league. Yeah, this is not a good Raiders team. They probably can start looking at the draft right about now.
I told people, I don't doubt the talent that the Raiders have on the team. I doubt the coach. And I don't know. It's something about Josh McDaniels. He doesn't move me. It's like if my team hired Josh McDaniels, I'd be like, oh, okay, big name. But that doesn't move me. And you can tell by this offense, it's not moving the Raiders' offense. I mean, the Cardinals game, I don't know what you're thinking. You just have to kick a field goal in overtime and you win. And then you're throwing these slant routes or these screen passes to Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow literally fumbled the play before. He fumbled for the game-winning touchdown against the Cardinals, and you think, oh, this is a good idea. I don't know what Josh McDaniels is thinking out there. It's just like he wants to do what he did with he wants to make Derek Carr like Tom Brady, but Derek Carr is never going to be like Tom Brady. Derek Carr does not have those Brady instincts. There's a thing, like Brady's been in that offense and that scheme for years. It's practice makes perfect. It's like the Bruce Lee saying, I'm afraid of the man that practiced the one kick 1,000 times than the man that knows 1,000 different kicks. You know, Brady knows that system. He knows what to do. Derek Carr is still learning that system. And then you bring a legit number 1, top 5, top 3 receiver in the league and Devontae Adams in the mix. I don't know how you expect that this offense is going to click right away and how this is going to work. Like, you know, to be honest, man, the Raiders look bad. Now, my Chargers, I've been on rants. I went on True Heel Heat Sports. Check them out. I do watch alongs on there too, mixed martial arts, and I also ran about my Chargers. I'm disappointed in them. I know they could be much better, but Anthony, as an outside Chargers fan, and keep in mind, I won't get mad. It's just this typical Chargers. Is this just they're just chargering? Is this what you expected, or were you expecting? You know, hey, maybe they could have started 3-0.
Yeah, I definitely thought they could have started 3-0. I know I picked them to beat the Chiefs a couple weeks ago. I don't think I'm selling my Chargers stock. Definitely not yet, even though they are 1-2 at this point, and they've had injuries. And I don't think we should count out the Chargers. And I think it's mostly because of Herbert. I feel that way. Herbert's just really, really good. And even with him hurt, I think he's still better than a lot of quarterbacks in the league. So I don't want to count them out, but man, this is not the start I thought the Chargers would have. I thought this could be the year they win the division. I think it's going to be an uphill battle for them this year.
Straight Shooter says that. I think your Chargers are cursed, Chase. They always seem to have the talent to make a run, but for one reason or another, they can never put it together, or we just get injured. I don't know why we have this team doctor still. He almost killed Tyrod. He almost killed Tyrod Taylor, and then to rest assure us Charger fans, I guess Herbert was going to get stabbed by this guy too. I was like, no, why is Herbert going to get shots from this guy? Why is it that all these players get injured on the Chargers? They really need to work on the conditioning. But yeah, I'm not in panic mode just yet. This road stretch is going to be a tough one. We got the Texans coming up next week, and then we got the Browns. Then we return home for Monday Night Football against the Broncos. Then we got the Seahawks right after. So this upcoming stretch, I would like to be 3-1. I would like to say I would love to end the stretch 3-1. Heck, I would love to end the stretch 4-0. Back to last time the Chargers started 1-2, we went on a 6-game winning streak. So hopefully that is a trend that keeps on going. But the Kansas City Chiefs, first episode, Anthony, we were high on them. We said, why do we doubt Mahomes? And then this game, Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy, they looked like they were about to throw it down. They were mad at each other. There's something about this Chiefs team. I think week 1, I think we just settled it. The Cardinals stink. They're in the stink category with the Raiders. I don't think we can leave them out of that category. They're in the stink category. Those are the 2 stinky teams in the NFL. I think we can agree. But against the Colts, who haven't also looked good the first 2 games, it was like the Chiefs, they're missing Tyreek Hill. It's like they're missing something because Juju Smith-Schuster, Valdez Scantling, these 2 are not getting any separation. Sky Moore, who everyone said, might be like Tyreek Hill. He ain't playing like Tyreek Hill. Still have no running game. Like the whole thing that they were trying to do was establish the ball. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I don't know what's wrong with this guy. One game he'll look, this guy, this is why they drafted him. The game changer. Then the next game he sucks. He just stinks. He doesn't do anything. He just goes like, I did good. And by the way, if you guys have Clyde Edwards-Helaire in fantasy, trade him right away. Find some idiot that will take him because he's an easy trade target. But Anthony, what are your thoughts of what are your thoughts on the Chiefs right now? Like they're very hot and cold, this team.
It's like I still like them. I think this is probably their division to lose. But I look around the rest of the AFC. It's like, this is probably not their year. They're probably not going to go back to the Super Bowl. And maybe they need a breather year. They got a rookie at receiver. Maybe they need to get year 2. I think a lot of, at least the way I look at it, I don't expect too much out of a rookie wide receiver. It's usually that year 2 I expect them. There's not a lot of Justin Jeffersons of the world that just break out year 1. So I'm more of a let's take a year 2. Unfortunately, Mahomes is young enough. You can take that time to wait. I think this is probably just a a down year for the Chiefs, and a down year for the Chiefs is probably still winning your division. You just probably aren't making out of the divisional round.
Well, you know what, Anthony? These two teams don't have to worry about going out of the division. Oh, maybe they do actually, but way too early MVPs. This is the best part of the season, man. And these two are actually going at it this week. But I love overreacting. This is the best part about the NFL season. This is only week 3, and we're already trying to see who's the MVP. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. If there's any other names, who's your way too early MVP? And I'll keep track of this, Anthony. And I'll say, hey, Anthony, in week 3, you said this person was your MVP. So who's your current way too early MVP? Is it Lamar Jackson? Is it Josh Allen?
I think it's Lamar Jackson. He just, even though, they did lose a couple weeks ago, they are just looking like they are looking good. And then they lost to a team in the Dolphins that look like they're going to be pretty good this year as well. 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, the stats really show like Lamar Jackson. Fortunately for him, he's doing like the last Ravens quarterback, Joe Flacco. He's going into a contract year, and the Ravens are probably going to have to pay a lot of money for him. But as we just talked about a minute ago, AFC West isn't looking as strong as it did. They could have a pretty solid path to Super Bowl if somehow, some way, Lamar Jackson can take these Ravens even just to the AFC Championship. I'd say, if not a Super Bowl. He's definitely an MVP. I think, I wasn't expecting to say Lamar Jackson for MVP again, but I think that's where I put my money right now if I was a betting man.
This campaign by Lamar Jackson right now, and I don't think I'm going to change my answer unless he just takes a dip, but I'm confident in saying Lamar Jackson will win the MVP this year. This reminds me of Cam Newton's MVP season, where you're just seeing Cam Newton play at an absolute different level, and you're just like, yeah, he's going to win the MVP. And everyone's like, I remember I was saying that when I was watching Cam Newton play, and people were like, Cam Newton MVP, really? Over Brady, over Rodgers? And I said, yeah, over Brady, over Rodgers, even over Manning. People still like Peyton Manning for MVP, but his arm was disappeared on him. But Lamar Jackson's just playing really, really well. He is playing absolutely phenomenal. He is playing to say, hey, fucking pay me. Pay me the money that I earned. I am earning this money. I am one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Take all your running back jokes and put them to the side. I am one of the best. And he's showing it, man. Like, I'm glad that people were sleeping on him in fantasy. People were taking Joe Burrow over this guy. I'm so happy because I ended up with Lamar Jackson on one of my fantasy teams. And I think, honestly, I don't think Josh Allen is number 2, Anthony. Hot take. I think my man, Jalen Hurts, is number 2 in MVP. If we're going way too early MVPs, I mean, Josh Allen's, he's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Josh Allen's bad, but in terms of what an MVP is, I think my man Jalen is number 2 right now in that MVP race.
I hate to agree with you in all this, Chase, but you're right. I think right now Jalen's the number 2. I'd be surprised if he gets the MVP. I think even though he is the number 2 right now, if I had to bet, I'd put Josh Allen ahead of him. But the way he's been playing through the first 3 weeks of the season, yeah, he's probably number 2 right now. I can't believe it, but I think that's the reality we're looking at.
By the way, guys, we're going to stay on for just a little bit longer and read some of your comments. So if you guys have any questions about stuff we didn't talk about on the show, please leave them down there. And for the next 10, 15 minutes, we'll answer some questions, read some comments. And Everything Pro Wrestling says, I need my Bills to bounce back. I still think we'll win the division. Losing Micah Hyde does not help your hopes in winning this division, in my personal opinion, especially with the way the Dolphins are playing. But I feel the Bills are going to be just fine in the least. Straight Shooter says, I think the Colts started off bad by having to play 2 road games. Yeah, that's not fun. I don't know who makes that schedule. Who says, hey, you have to start the season off with 2 road games. And this was their first home game. So maybe them having home field advantage motivated them. Yeah, and the refs are a little bit nicer to you at home. They're not going to call certain things too. And it's weird. I think Patrick Mahomes just doesn't play good indoors. I've been looking at the indoor stats with Patrick Mahomes, and I don't know. He doesn't like that indoor feeling. He's an old school type quarterback. He likes playing outdoors with the wind, the cold, and the climate, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say, Anthony. Straight Shooter says my too early pick is Josh Allen. Okay, that's not a bad pick. I mean, Lamar is great.
I think by the time Josh Allen retires, he'll have at least a Super Bowl, or excuse me, an MVP. Probably a Super Bowl too, though.
My friend Weston says, "Don't sleep on Tua." Look, you know me. I'm a Tua Anthony. I also got to admit something. I'm checking into rehab. I am checking into rehab for my Wentzaholic card. I think it's done. I think it's time. Week 1, I was high on my boy. I said he's back. I'm checking into rehab. I might check into rehab soon for my Trubiscoholic addiction. But Wentzaholic, I'm officially in rehab. I will not say anything positive about one Carson Wentz on the rest of the time we do these recaps or at all when I talk about NFL. I got to check in. I got to do it. But I'm still a Tuaholic and I'm still a Trubiscoholic. It can't leave. But Wentz, after last week's game, he stinks. This guy has 3 talented wide receivers, and I don't know what he's doing with that. He has talented running backs, too. He has like 2 of them. 3 once Brian Robinson comes back. I don't know what this guy's doing. Let's see what Weston asked. Should my Texans trade Brandon Cooks or just start building around what we have now? Anthony, what are your thoughts? Should the Texans trade Brandon Cooks?
I mean, they can. I mean, they got some picks coming for Watson anyway. I don't think that this next year or even 2 are going to be that great for the Texans. Might as well trade them. And I mean, it might be working out for the Jaguars getting 2 number 1 overall picks 2 years in a row. Hey, maybe it can work out for the Texans doing that too.
I feel trading Cooks is not the move because Cooks is kind of like a good receiver to have for a new quarterback or he's just a good veteran presence. I would look to trade Laramie Tunsil though, because there's a lot of teams looking for left tackles, and that cap hit he's going to have is not good. And Tunsil's a very underrated left tackle. I don't think he's great, but I don't think he's horrible. He's actually a pretty solid left tackle. And you could actually fetch more draft capital, like trading Cooks. Like what? You're going to trade Cooks and get a 6th-round pick? Is a 6th-round pick going to be better than Brandon Cooks? Like Cooks is good if, say for example, like Anthony's team, the Vikings, are like, we're just missing that one piece to take us over the top. We'll trade you a 3rd-round pick for Brandon Cooks. Okay, yeah, do it, because the Vikings are looking at this like, hey, we get Brandon Cooks, a guy who's played in a couple Super Bowl or 1 Super Bowl, I think. I don't know, maybe he's played in a couple. He's bound. We got to play this game. Where did Brandon Cooks play throughout his career? Let's see. The Saints, he was drafted. The Patriots.
Rams, right?
Oh yeah, he was. Yes, he played in the Rams Super Bowl. So yeah, he was. And just like the Patriots Super Bowl, he got knocked out early. Yep. So yeah, he was on the Rams. He was like the Rams' number 1 receiver, and I guess now the Texans, right?
Yep.
Oh man, look at them. But yeah, so I want to trade Cooks. I would trade Tunsil though, and then build around what you have, because like you said, like Anthony said, you guys got a lot of picks coming in. Like the Texans are going to be fine in the immediate future, and plus, I don't think Brandon Cooks' cap hit to your salary cap is worth it. I mean, you're going to have like $80 million in cap 1 year. Thoughts on these 4 teams: Jacksonville, NYG, Washington, Cowboys, legit or fraud? All right, Anthony, I think we can both agree Washington are frauds. We're not even going to talk about them. They're frauds. Now the Cowboys. I think they're legit, Anthony. I think they're legit. Yeah. That was a great gritty win. I like that win by the Cowboys. The last 2 wins were great and gritty.
Yeah, it was a win.
Yeah, I like it.
And they did it with the backup. No Dak.
Cooper Rush. Yeah, who is this guy? Carson Wentz if he didn't take HGH. This is what he looks like.
Yep.
Cooper Rush. Now the Giants. I think the verdict is still out. I don't know if I can call them frauds, and I don't know if I can call them legit, because there's times where Daniel Jones flashes, and you're like, oh, that's why they like him. He can move up the pocket. He's very versatile. And then there's times where it's just like he stinks. There's no middle ground with Daniel Jones. The defense for the Giants, pretty solid. Nothing to write home about, but pretty solid. I don't know, Anthony, how you feel about the New York Football Giants?
I really liked the head coach hiring. That was my favorite of the offseason. But Daniel Jones, I watched the end of the game on a Monday, and I knew it wouldn't happen. I knew it wouldn't happen. They got the ball. They even ran out of bounds just so they could get essentially 2 minutes to go down the field Daniel Jones got 1 first down, and that was it. He gave the ball back to the the Cowboys. I knew Daniel Jones wouldn't do it. I knew he wouldn't do it. So if I think that about a game against the Cowboys, I'm not getting my hopes about the Giants this season.
And Jacksonville, I'm all in, baby. They're legit. Trevor Lawrence is playing his second-year quarterback. People forget the pedigree. There's quarterbacks in college that have a certain pedigree. And I don't know what it is. I think it's just because people expect quarterbacks to change it right away. Guys, can you wait till like year number 3 before judging a quarterback? But Trevor Lawrence is a pedigree type quarterback. Started all the time he was at Clemson, played at the highest level every single year he was there. I get it. He looked bad his rookie year. Guess what? He's a rookie. What do you expect him? Like Peyton Manning looked horrible his rookie year, and he's considered one of the greatest of all time. I've always been a Trevor Lawrence defender. I liked what they did in the offseason. Now, I don't like the money they paid for some of their players, but I liked what they did. And really, to be honest, I think the Jaguars are finally young. They're drafting the right pieces. And I feel like they have the right quarterback. It's not Blake Bortles. This is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is a difference maker. And it showed. He's making Zay Jones and Christian Kirk look good. So I don't know, Anthony. I feel like your AEW hatred is coming towards the Jaguars. I feel like you don't want to give our good buddy Tony Khan any credit. Anthony, Jaguars legit are frauds.
Yeah, I look at how that other company is run in professional wrestling. If that's how they run it there, I'm very weary about how their NFL team's going to be. But I gotta say, I'm a big Doug Peterson fan. We didn't even bring him up. He was somebody I really wanted the Vikings to sign this offseason.
When the Chargers were looking for coaches, I was like, man, I wish Peterson was a free agent because he would be the number one for me.
He's really good. That's why I was so surprised the Eagles let go of him. Even though they are 3-0 now, it seems like they're doing all right. I think
Nick Sirianni, he comes from a good coaching tree, so it's not like he came from a terrible coaching tree.
But I really like Doug Peterson, so I think that's the underrated part. Not only do you have a good quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, you have Doug Peterson. I mean, those two is the cornerstones of your franchise, and with the Colts aren't looking that great, even though they did just win. I don't think the Colts are that great. Titans look to be on the downward trend. And then the Texans, well, I don't think they're going to be good for a little bit. So it's like the division could be wide open for the Jaguars to take. They've had 2 surprising wins. I don't think a lot of people picked them to win those 2 games. So the fact that they're 2-1, let's not count out the Jaguars.
And especially the way they won. I believe it was like the first time since the year 2000 that they beat both opponents by like 20 points, and they only allowed 10 points the whole time. Final 2 questions here. Chief asks, what are your thoughts on Ezekiel Elliott trade talks? They got to trade him. The problem is his contract's horrible. Like no one wants that contract for a running back. Like the thing with Zeke is that he's too he doesn't pass catch enough. He's not as explosive anymore. He just doesn't look good. So I don't know who's trading for him. And if you're the Cowboys, you're not just going to take like a 6th round pick. You want at least 3rd round pick or above. I would even think you would try to argue a 2nd round pick for Zeke. And then you're going to have that dead cap. And I don't know. Anthony, do you see any team trading for Zeke? I see teams trading for Pollard, not Zeke.
Yeah, it takes 2 teams to trade. I don't think either side's willing to give what the other side wants.
Who would trade for Zeke? Who's a team? I feel like the Cardinals. They're pretty stupid. I feel like Cliff Kingsbury will be like, James Conner's hurt. Maybe he won't come back. Screw it, man. Let's get Zeke.
Who knows? That's part of it. I mean, a running back who's very close to 30. It's like, why are you gonna spend a premium pick on him? Unless you could get him for a late day 3 pick, like 5th round or later. I don't know why you would touch. And that's the thing. The teams that would touch him will be the teams that have a lot of salary cap. And if you have a lot of salary cap, you're probably not going to be good. So what's the point in getting Ezekiel Elliott? It's just kind of who fits the bill that would actually trade for Elliott.
Oh man, like I said, the Cardinals. But the thing is, I don't think they would trade him in the conference because like the teams like that would need Zeke are like the Cardinals and the Niners. But like, I can't picture the Cowboys trading with the Niners and giving them Zeke. And that's one of those teams where it's just like I don't know who would want him. Like the Texans are not stupid anymore, so they're not going to trade a premier player for Ezekiel Elliott like they did for David Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins. So I don't know. I don't know who would trade for Zeke, but I think Zeke is most likely done in Dallas after this year. And last question from my boy Weston asks, what is wrong with the Cowboys and how come they aren't winners like they used to be? It's management. That's just pretty much it. It's just the management.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't train stupid.
I mean, Mike McCarthy. I think that's where you can start pointing the fingers. Mike McCarthy.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I hate to break it to you, Weston, that there's not like a big reasoning why. It's just you gotta just look at the history and the moves that they made. It's just like they've done it to themselves. They sabotage this what should be a great dynasty. I mean, there's a lot of Cowboys fans for a reason, but there should probably be a lot more Cowboy fans. I'll just leave it at that. But it's all thanks to Jerry Jones and his great football mind. I mean, they nailed draft picks. I'll say that. Like they'll get a Micah Parsons and stuff every year. And now I'm just like, how did they get these studs? But they have the talent. They're like the Chargers. They always have the talent, but never seem to quite figure out the pieces. Anthony, where can the great people find you?
Well, there's always Twitter at FEN Anthony. I definitely tweet during the games. And, YouTube, Fairview Entertainment Network. Haven't done a Vikings video yet this season, but I think one of these days I'll pull out a video talk about my Vikings. Maybe even this week. Maybe I'll pull a video out this week.
Oh, wow.
Who knows?
Guys, you guys can follow me on Twitter at ChaseOliver68. If you guys came in here, thank you guys so much. I love the support for the NFL videos. Don't worry, guys. Pro wrestling and MMA is also coming to the channel. But if you guys want more pro wrestling and MMA from me, check out the Spotify Chillin' with Chase. That'll be in the link down below. Check me out on Hill Stevens' channel, True Hill Heat Sports, when it comes to the NFL and MMA. Thank you, Anthony, for joining me once again. We're going to try to get some more guests here in the future. But for right now, it's just Anthony and I talking to you guys. Thank you all so much. Please hit the follow, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave your comments down below. We will see you guys next week for week 4 of the NFL. And remember, guys, put your money on Jalen Hurts now before it's too late.